As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
There's no crying in baseball!
I ate his liver with some fava beans. A nice cliente.
That was totally wicked!
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change!
And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. And we are wrapping up the best month ever here. So please welcome, from the best film ever, of course, Georgia.
Hello.
All right, how you doing tonight?
Not too bad. It's actually 10 o'clock in the morning for me. So
Well, you're right. It's 5 o'clock in the morning for me, so I can't.
Tonight I'll be all right. But right now I'm kind of going, oh, hello.
All right, so why don't you tell everyone a little bit, in case they haven't tuned in yet, about best film ever?
Okay, yeah. So Best Film Ever is a podcast that's been going for just over a year now. Initially started with Ian and Liam basically just deciding that they should record the conversations that we were all having after we watched films. And it started with an episode on Back to the Future, which I kind of sat in on the background while they were recording. And when they realised they needed things fact-checking, I was just there with my phone shouting things down into a microphone. And it kind of has taken off since there. We became having guests on to having all four of us, myself and Ellie, joining them on a regular basis, to it being bigger than we ever thought it would be. So lots of fun, lots of films watched, lots of different films watched, which is really good as well.
All right. So for years, we're going to go back to 1987 and talk about The Princess Bride.
Grandfather's here.
Can't you tell me I'm sick? He'll pinch my cheek. I hate that.
Maybe he won't.
Hey, how was this sickie? Huh? I brought you a special present.
What is it?
It was the book my father used to read to me when I was sick, and I used to read it to your father. And today, I'm going to read it to you.
It was a time when life didn't seem so complicated.
Marriage is what brings us together today.
What?
What?
I'm killing myself once we reach the honeymoon suite.
Wouldn't that be nice?
A courtly age of gentle conversation.
I won't always come for you.
But how can you be sure?
This is true love.
Oh, no. Is this a kissing book?
No, actually, there was a lot of treachery, peril, and revenge.
Prepare to die.
Never go in against the Sicilian when death is on the line!
There were affairs of state.
But I've got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilda to frame for it. I'm swamped.
And affairs of the heart.
My Wesley will always come for me.
Your Wesley is dead.
I've seen worse.
Bye-bye, boy! Have fun storming the castle!
It's more than 30.
What's the difference? We've got him.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
Goodbye!
It's a story of love, a tale of adventure. It's as real as the feelings you feel.
We're kissing again.
Someday you may not mind so much.
The Princess Bride. Not just your basic, average, everyday, ordinary, run-of-the-mill, ho-hum fairy tale.
Yeah, we are.
So when did you first see this?
I first saw The Princess Bride, I think it must be about 5 or 6 years ago now. So not that long ago, but about 5 or 6 years ago. Because basically Ian found out that I hadn't seen many movies at all. I hadn't seen Titanic. I hadn't seen anything like that. I just had only ever really seen like teen flicks that were aged like based at my demographic. I hadn't seen much old stuff. I hadn't seen much good new stuff either. And so one of the first films he was like, you need to watch this, was The Princess Bride, and I fell in love with it.
Okay, well, that was one that was I'd always heard of and not on my radar, and so this was my first time watching it actually.
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it seemed like something I would have watched because I watched like movies like Willow, which is also an adventure story.
Yes, yeah.
but I never did see Princess Bride for some reason. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, tell everyone a little bit about Princess Bride.
So Princess Bride is actually, the film is actually based off of a book, which is the book is hilarious because the book is written by someone, but it's written as if it was this found kind of like manuscript that he's had to edit and like put together. So there's two authors for the book, and it's all a bit all over the place, but it means that you get these wonderful like interjections in it, like we get from Grandpa in the film, of him kind of explaining things. There's one point he just kind of goes, and I've skipped this here because you don't need to read about florin currency for 3 days or something like that. So there's little bits like that in it. Anyway, so Princess Bride is based, the film is basically a grandpa reading to his grandson who is unwell, and the boy doesn't think he's going to like it because it's called Princess Bride, and ends up absolutely loving it because it's a satire of romantic comedy films, but also manages to be the best romantic comedy film that has come out of it. So Buttercup and Wesley work on a farm. Well, Buttercup doesn't really work. She gets Farm Boy to do it all for her. And they fall in love, and he kind of gets drafted off to go away, but they decide that they'll always find each other. Fast forward to a few years later, and Buttercup thinks he's dead, so she's agreed because she's beautiful to go and marry Prince Humperdinck. And basically gets taken off to go and do that, but gets kidnapped on the way because there's some people that want to start a war between Florin and the neighbouring city, and so it all goes a bit awry. But we get the likes of Andre the Giant and Mandy Patinkin. It's absolutely wonderful. Basically fighting to keep Buttercup around, but then we get the Dread Pirate Roberts, who comes and saves her, and lo and behold, oh no, it's Wesley, and he's still in love with her, but she's about to go marry someone else, and she's been kidnapped, and it's just wonderful.
So you touched on a little bit. So why is it you love this movie so much?
I think it's full of so much heart and warmth, and it's instantly quotable. There's some brilliant lines in it. It's so well written, and it doesn't pretend to be anything it's not either, though. Like some of the sets and some of the shots, like you don't love this film for shot continuity because it's not there. Like you jump backwards and forwards, and there's one particular scene where Wesley's got his head on his shoulder in one shot, and then it's up like this, and then it's down again, and but it's what makes it so wonderful that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It is, like I said, it's a bit of a satire, a bit of a sarcastic take on things like Robin Hood and those sorts of stories, but manages to do it so well that actually you root for these characters the whole way through, even the ones that are not necessarily supposed to be good guys. You go, yeah, they're great, I love them.
Okay, so you mentioned the book. Did you read the book after you saw the film, or had you already read that?
I read the book after I'd seen the film, yeah. I was gifted it for my birthday the year that I'd watched it. And it is brilliant. Like if you like the film, read the book, because the story is the same, but the characters are fleshed out a little bit more. And like I said, there's these interjections from the fake author about what the original story was like, and that he's just decided to cut it out. And it's just so wonderful. There's explanations about what the people would have been like at the time, in like Florida and those sorts of things. And there's some beautiful strings of insults that are just in there that aren't in the film. So it's definitely worth a read.
Oh, okay. It's good to know. All right, so we don't spoil the whole movies here. So but what I want to do is, if you had a chance to make a sequel to this, not necessarily like now, 30 plus years later, but even go back then and have made a sequel with everyone, what would you have liked to have seen?
It's a tricky one because it does end so rounded. It's got a lovely ending to it. So it'd be difficult to do it. I think there was, again, with the book, there is like, you get the first chapter of a sequel to it that has been lost for all time, which is called Buttercup's Baby. And you only get the first chapter to it because it's not been written, the rest of it. But it's this lovely little kind of like foray into what might have happened after the story ended. So yeah, probably just a continuation of that, I think. It's already kind of there for you in the book, but not fully. Like I said, it's only the first chapter because it was supposed to be like this teaser. Like sometimes, you know, you get books like in a series and they'll have the first chapter of the next book printed in the back, like as a make sure you read the next one. It's like that, but there was never any intention to actually write the next book at all. So yeah, but just a continuation of what married life was like for Wesley and Buttercup. I'd like to see what happened after they left the tower.
Okay. So you guys cover a lot of films, so you know that the remake is a real thing. So who would you like to see if they did a remake of this?
So I actually made a list yesterday because I'm not very good at thinking of names on the fly. One of the things that they laugh at me for on the podcast is that I have a serious case of face blindness when it comes to actors and actresses because I just cannot recognize them. It's only like there's a few like big ones that I know who they are when I see them, like Johnny Depp, like Leo, like Emily Blunt, like a few of them that I know and like. I'm able to. I couldn't name you any of them. I don't know who any of those people are.
You gotta know one of them.
Posters in the background. That's Johnny Depp in the background.
Yeah, there you go. So
I got that one, but like other than that, I'm really, really bad for it. So I was like, I need to actually make a list, and so I know what I'm doing. So yeah, for recast, like if they're making it today, not that I think they should make it again because it's perfect the way it is, even with all the little like set flaws and the obvious cardboard rocks and those sorts of things. It is perfect. It doesn't need changing.
Trust me, I can tell you this part of the show right here is what I seem to get the most comments on, is when I post something about the recast. And people get heated and I have to go in and be like, it's just the fun part of the show. Don't take it seriously. I have no pull to get a movie made. It's not happening.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't need to. But if it was to, I've gone for Buttercup. So for our leading lady, who doesn't actually do that much, she's basically just a very pretty blonde. I was talking to Ian about it last night, and I went, if it can't be me, because I'd love to be in a remake of this film if it was to happen. Then I've gone for Elle Fanning, who is Dakota Fanning's little sister. I think she was in Maleficent as Aurora. She just has the right look about her, I think. So that's why I've gone for her. Wesley, I've gone for Taron Egerton because he's amazing. He's in Kingsman. He's in Rocketman as Elton John.
Yep.
And I just think he'd absolutely nail the kind of sarcastic, suave thing that Wesley has to have. For Inigo, I've gone for Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's a little bit old, but I think he'd still do it really well. He's great, and he'd add a little bit of a swagger to it that I think was a bit different but nice. Fezzik, I've stuck with the wrestling roots.
Okay.
Because obviously it was Andre the Giant before. I've gone with Braun Strowman from WWE because it's like he's big, he's not exactly clever, he's not exactly well spoken, but that's exactly what Fezzik should be because he's iconically just the big guy with so much heart because you have to love him.
I just wonder if Braun's going to feel the need to tell someone to get these hands. That's what he says in wrestling.
Maybe, but I mean, I had to stick with the wrestling roots. We were trying to think of other people that could fill it, but I was like, there's no one that's big enough because he has to be that big. And without doing what they did with Hagrid in Harry Potter and like making him look bigger with stilts and those sorts of things, it needs to be someone who is just massive anyway. So Braun Strowman made the most sense to me. Miracle Max and Valerie, so originally played by Billy Crystal and Carol Crane, they're both still alive and they were aged up massively for the original film. So just don't put as much makeup on this time. Like,
let them come back.
They can reprise the roles because they're perfect. They managed to steal the show from a film that is already brilliant, and they're only in it for about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so
and that part surprised me because I didn't know that was coming.
No, a lot of people say that when they first watch. They're like, "Wait, is that Billy Crystal?"
Yeah.
Like because it's just so mad, but it's brilliant. So yeah, they can definitely stay. So for Vicini, he'll be a little bit wimpier than the original cast, but I've gone with Ed Helms, so Andy in The Office, and amongst other things. I just think he's a good wimpy kind of character, so that's what I've gone for. For Grandfather, which isn't a massive part, but I thought it'd be a really lovely nod to the original, I've gone for Mandy Patinkin, just because he's the original Inigo. I thought it'd be quite nice just to have him in that little role, just kind of reliving it, as it were, as if it was Inigo telling it to his grandson. It'd be quite nice. And for the grandson, I've gone for Julian Hilliard, who was Billy in WandaVision. So the TV show that came out just now, he's one of the little boys in it, and he's brilliant. I think he was in like The Haunting of Hill House or something like that on Netflix as well. But he's great. So I've gone for him. And then Prince Humperdinck, because he needs to be a bit of a suave ass with a lot of charm, but just a bit of an arsehole. I've gone for Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh,
because I just think he'd be great.
I think you're right. I think he could pull it off.
I think he could. I think he really could. I think if it had to be recast, I think I'd quite like this cast, but just don't do it. It doesn't.
No, in all reality, you're probably right. Let's not do it. And I do agree. I think they would at least bring someone back. I wonder if they would try to bring Carrie Ellis back into it, but
yeah, he's just a bit old now. Bless him.
Can't argue that. All right, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to sell this movie to someone who hasn't seen it. Maybe this isn't their type of movie. At least they don't think it is.
Okay. So I am going to sell it like it is a swashbuckling adventure with pirates and swordsmen and revenge and deadly woods that people don't make it out of alive, and there's burns and there's massive attack rodents. There is weird dream sequences. It's got Billy Crystal. Who doesn't like Billy Crystal and Carol Crane? Like, come on, they're brilliant. There's torture devices. That's always good. And there's a little bit of a love story in there too. But if that's not your thing, that's okay, because there's torture devices that literally suck the life out of you. So it could be considered a horror, I'm sure, if you spun it the right way.
There you go, something for everyone, right? I mean,
absolutely,
it's got it all.
It really has.
All right, that sounds good. I think we covered everything, so I think we're gonna wrap this one up pretty quick. Georgia, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find the show?
Yeah, so Best Film Ever is on pretty much all of the podcatchers, I think, including iTunes and Spotify and Podbean, those sorts of things. We are mostly active on Twitter, so if you want to find us on there, it is at bestfilmeverpod. Me specifically, I am BFE_Georgia on Twitter, but I like a lot of the Best Film Ever stuff, so you'd find me quite easily interacting over there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Best Film Ever Pod as well. Get in touch. We like to hear all the things, even if it is I Hate the Princess Bride, because that was Ellie's take on it and we absolutely slaughtered her for it. So it's become a running joke.
Oh, all right. As always, you can follow the show at ynfmoviepod on Twitter and Instagram. I too am most active on Twitter, and I'm normally interacting with Best Film Ever. So if you find me, you'll probably find me interacting. So, and we're also pretty much available wherever you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, all the others, a lot of other small ones as well. Be sure to come back next week as we're kicking off September, and we're going with the Good Game guys to talk about Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill and why that should be your next favorite movie. You guys take care. I'll talk to you next time.